to liberty. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Well, as we are now in day 3 of Operation Epic Fury, we are happy to have on News Nation contributor Lieutenant General Richard Newton on KCMO, who also was here at Whiteman Air Force Base, stationed over 30 years ago now, joining us on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Richard, good morning. Great to have you on the show. We appreciate you being back here on KCMO. So as you sit here on day 3 with everything that's unfolded over the last 48 hours, what are you thinking about that the average American like myself who hasn't served is probably not thinking about this morning when it comes to where this operation goes from here?
Well, good morning, Pete. Good to be with you and to be back on air with you. The first 2 days, and as you alluded, we're going into the third day. Frankly, the joint military campaign, the first ever, by the way, of a sustained military campaign with the United States and Israel, I believe continues to be a striking success. Very broadly speaking, this is, again, the beginnings. I think we're not going to see an end game here for the next couple of days, but certainly through the next couple of weeks, perhaps as President Trump said, even into 4 weeks. I would encourage the president, and I have no reason to expect that he would not, but for the United States and Israel, frankly, to keep their foot on the gas, going after Iranian leadership still, go after the retaliatory capability, those ballistic missiles and cruise missiles and drones that harm, that potentially could harm the U.S. forces. Unfortunately, we've had 4 Americans killed in action in Kuwait, several wounded, but nonetheless, to continue to go after Iranian retaliatory capabilities that they still have, as well as now that we've achieved air superiority, what I would anticipate over the next several days is to go after whatever has been able to sustain the Iranian regime, to continue to go after their leadership, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, elements of their police state, their command and control, their certainly their defense industrial base that allows them to build and produce those ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones and so forth. But much more to come. But so far, so good.
So let's talk about what came out of Whiteman. The B-2 bombers once again used. They were used in Operation Midnight Fury last summer, now again used over the weekend in Operation Epic Fury. They're not typically used this frequently. So as someone who used to be stationed down at Whiteman and knows what goes on down there very well, how do you think the vibe, the scene has been down at Whiteman in the wake of what these men and women just pulled off again over the weekend for the second time in less than a year?
Extraordinary. And I had the privilege to command the first B-2 Stealth Bomber Squadron, the 393rd Bomb Squadron Tigers. And I can guarantee you that as much as we've seen in history up to this point, most recently, certainly on June 22nd of last year, when our 7 B-2 stealth bombers went after the Iranian nuclear production development capabilities there. We saw also on the first day of activity, our B-2 stealth bombers out of Whiteman Air Force Base struck targets, as General Dan King just said at a presser in the Pentagon. It was more in the southern flank, southern region of Iran. But I would anticipate that the B-2s will, and our men and women who not only fly the aircraft, operate the aircraft, but to sustain and maintain those aircraft as well, will continue to be in the fight as needed. Think of this: extraordinary U.S. firepower from the middle of the United States at Knob Noster, Missouri, striking targets and achieving extraordinary success. And it's just extraordinary that we have this capability, not only in the B-2, but most importantly, the men and women who fly and maintain those aircraft.
Lieutenant General Richard Newton, News Nation contributor on KCMO. I know you've got a TV hit coming up, so last question here. When it comes to where this goes in the days and weeks to come, the President and the Secretary of War have made it very clear over the last 48 hours this is not Iraq 2.0. They do not want to do any nation building, boots on the ground, anything like that. But no one really knows how this is going to play out in the weeks to come. So what concerns you the most as Operation Epic Fury continues on and the best way to prevent this thing from going sideways?
Well, this is, as you allude to, Pete, in your question, and effectively so, this is not a forever bombing campaign against Iran. However, we will continue to provide U.S. military capabilities along with Israel, and so that, frankly, to create the conditions for the regime to fall so that the Iranian people can reclaim their country, so that Iran will no longer be a threat to U.S. interests in the region as well as the neighbors. And so that's really what I see. It's really, think of this in terms of not a forever war at all in any stretch. This is to continue as long as it takes to create those conditions. And so what you're going to see is you're going to see systematically, methodically, deliberately, with precision and mass, along with U.S. forces from all domains, air and sea, specifically in space and cyber and so forth, to go after the Iranian regime so that they can no longer, again, pursue a nuclear weapon and do harm, as I mentioned, to Americans and our interests in the region. So we're still going to continue to go after it, mainly their ability to retaliate, but not necessarily retaliate immediately in this case or the next several weeks, but retaliate, no longer retaliate or be belligerent in the region, but also to go after the ability to sustain the regime that we've seen. As I mentioned, that laundry list at the beginning of the conversation, from leadership all the way to their defense industrial base. That's going to take a period of time over several weeks. But the long-term solution here is, again, to allow the conditions for the Iranian people to reclaim their nation.
All right, Lieutenant General Richard Newton, he will be on News Nation here coming up in a few minutes, so we are going to let him get out of here, get after it. We appreciate you, Richard. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you, Pete. Best to you.
All right, you as well. He does a very good job, and, of course, he was stationed at Whiteman from 93 to 95. So to continue with what he was just saying there, if you didn't see it last night on 60 Minutes, Reza Pahlavi is 65 years old. He's the son of the former king, or Shah of Iran. He was deposed in 1979 by the revolutionaries, and he was never able to go back home. He's lived in exile for 47 years, mostly in the United States. He was in Paris over the weekend. He caught up with 60 Minutes, and here is what he had to say last night about Operation Epic Fury.
What is your message to President Trump?
My message to President Trump is that I'm here to echo and join millions of my compatriots inside and outside of Iran to thank him for having done and having the courage to do what is not easy, but intervene. And he will go down in the annals of Iranian history as the most celebrated foreign leader that changed the ball game and changed the world as a result.
Scott Pelley looked like he was going to soil himself. Scott Pelley, and when he said that about Trump, Scott Pelley was like, no!
How dare you?
Oh, my goodness. You should have seen the look on his face, which tells you all you need to know. Coming up next on KCMO, if you are in one of our area counties, today is a big day for you. We'll tell you what's going on, the meeting, the ordinances you don't want to miss, and the details next.
I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving. The show goes